In this video, we're going to explore how to enjoy being a gay man in today's world. I'd like to share with you some perspectives that will help you actually enjoy your gayness or enjoy the gay environment. Some of these ideas will be self-explanatory. For example, personal development. It's always easier to be gay if you are working on yourself when it comes to your emotions, when it comes to your goals, when it comes to knowing where you are in your life, where you're going in your life, and how to get there. So obviously, this is not just for gay people, but this is a good reminder because our lives as gay men are more complicated. So without personal development, without attention to how you think, how you feel, who you surround yourself with, it's going to be difficult enjoying your gayness because it's a lot more complicated than being straight. Now, let me share with you some ideas that have to do with research that I've done over the past 10 years into a framework that I'd like to share with you today that you may have heard me talk about before. This is the 3P framework that will help you understand how to really enjoy being gay, how to be around the right people, how to date, how to create relationships, how to feel good about yourself. And so this is the framework that will help you understand on a deeper level what you would need to do if you really want to let go of the challenges of dating, if you want to let go of the frustrations of wanting relationships, love, sex, and the rest of it, and not having it the way that you feel you deserve to have it. So this framework is a broad picture understanding of what has to happen so that your life actually works. And I'm recording this video in June 2022. Happy Pride. And those of you who want to enjoy being gay in today's world where the hookup culture unfortunately is dominating, so obviously it is more difficult to come across situations, to come across men and dating that actually works. So we have to do a little bit of due diligence, we have to do a little bit of thinking, and we have to be more organized so that being gay for you actually is something that you look forward to having, being, and living in your life with other men. And so let me share with you this 3P framework. And I call it the 3P framework because it has 3 parts. Each part starts with a P. So the first P is people. The second P is places. And the third P is process or dating process, or how do you get to know men. So again, the first one is people or the right people. And you're going to have to do some thinking about that. I'm going to share with you some ideas in a moment. There's a second part of the framework is the places where you go to meet them. It's very important that you don't go anywhere or you're not random about it, that you actually have thought about where to be so that the gay man that you meet, you're not just bumping against them and everybody walks away from everybody else, but instead you actually are connecting, you actually are building meaningful relationships. And then the third P is the dating process. This is also important because dating, as you already know, is not easy today. In fact, it's almost impossible to have second dates, let alone 6th, 7th, 8th dates that prove that you are connecting, that you're developing trust, and you have an opportunity for commitment, maybe even monogamy, maybe even a serious relationship and marriage. So this 3P framework is going to help you distill the most important ideas out of this very complex social space called the gay world and still enjoy being gay, enjoy meeting men, connecting with them, loving the process, loving yourself, accepting yourself, and just having an all-around optimistic, positive mindset about yourself and your life. So first, I'd like to share with you that whatever challenges that you're having right now, frustrations with people, with dating, this is all across the board. Everybody's having challenges, meeting, connecting, forming relationships, finding people for all kinds of purposes. It's very difficult because the world has changed. The hookup culture is dominating, and the principles, the methodologies, the ways that people used to come together, especially in the gay world, just like I remember in Chicago, when I first moved from Poland to America, I used to live in Chicago. I had a lover for 6 years in Chicago, and I remember how wonderful it was going over to the Broadway area, hanging out outside of coffee shops. Everybody was walking around. You were running into people right and left. It was almost impossible not to find lovers, dates, and relationships. But that was 20 years ago. That was, 20 years ago. So the world has radically changed. So we want to have a methodology, we want to have a process for how to look at all of that and how to distill the necessity or the necessities, and how to remove all of the blurriness and all of the complexities. All right, so let's come back to the framework, the 3P framework. Let's start with the first one, and that's the right people. So let's say that you are 45 years old. So this is going to be for men that are over 40, who are no longer interested in sexual exploration. You've done all of that. You are no longer interested in coming across a lot of people from different backgrounds and experimenting. And instead, you want to come across men who are kind of like you, who are willing and interested in learning, in growing, in getting better, in making love happen. And so you want to ask yourself, if you want to meet people, what kind of people do you want to meet? And what would be the right people for you to meet? That's the starting point, because if we don't do this analysis up front, then obviously you're going to be too random. You're going to be putting yourself in situations where you're coming across anyone and everyone. And if you come across anyone and everyone, for example, through the hookup apps and the dating platforms where you don't have control over the quality of men that you meet, obviously you're positioning yourself in such a way that you are going to experience difficulties, perhaps even trauma, breakups, rejections, abandonment. So if you want to avoid all of that, you have to think about who are the men you'd like to meet. And we're talking about not just for dating and relationships, but that is really important, but just in general, what kind of men do you want to meet? Who are they? And when we say the right man for you, what does that mean? What does it mean to meet the right people? You have to remember that human beings go through stages of development in their life. In our 20s and early 30s, for most gay men, there's a lot of experimentation. There's a lot of development of identity. So not everybody's going to be a polished person when it comes to their behavior, when it comes to their understanding of themselves, the understanding of you. And so they will be making a lot of mistakes. And you're going to be positioning yourself in front of those individuals, and you will be subjected to their mistakes. And so remember that these stages of development are cycles that take 5 years, they take 10 years. And so when we talk about the right people for you, we're probably talking about men who've been around the block, if you know what I mean. They've experimented. They have gotten to know themselves on a certain level that they understand their strengths, their weaknesses. They know that their personality has kind of like it's a double-edged sword. On one level, they're super nice and kind and loving, but there is also a weakness. Like I can be sometimes overly aggressive, and it took me a long time to understand where that's coming from. I had to take personality testing to discover that, yes, I have this double-edged sword. I can be loving, I can be very giving and kind, but yes, sometimes I can be very aggressive, and that's not something I should present up front to the people that I want to love, or I want to get to know, befriend, or I want to invite into my life. And it took me many, many years to have that ability, and I still make mistakes today with being too aggressive with certain people or trying to be dominating in certain areas. And so everybody has to learn how to quiet down some of our weaknesses, some of our quirky or neurotic parts of our personality. And so again, that takes a while to develop. And so when we say, let's be around the right people, we want to be around the people that have self-awareness so that when they make a mistake, that they know how to fix the situation, that they know how to come back and apologize. And so you want to be around people that are self-aware about their desire for love, that it will take emotion, it will take communication, and also that sexuality should be put to the side when you are interacting with other gay men. When you are around men like that, everything is a lot easier. And contrast this with being around men that are not self-aware, that are putting sexuality to the front, that are analyzing you, evaluating you on a level of sexuality, on a level of your looks, on a level of your externality. So that is going to expose you to a lot of challenges. So the first P is the right people. And thinking about it this way is very important so that you are no longer exposing yourself to traumatic situations, abandonment, and judgments. In a moment, I'm going to share with you where you can meet these right people, and we're going to bring it all together. Now, let's talk about the second P, and that's the right place. The right place means that it's a container. It's like people used to go and meet in meditation centers, churches, Buddhist centers, universities. They were taking courses and they would enter a classroom and they would be around people for, say, 9 weeks, and they would get to know them from that place. And it's very different than getting to know people from the hookup apps, from sex-centered places, or from just random places. So once we have the right people, now we're combining this with the right place. And the right place is a place that protects everyone who's part of that place from the rejections, from the negative behaviors, so that everybody who's in that place feels more relaxed, feels safer about being himself, feels like there is a facility or support that will come in when there's a conflict, when there's a disagreement, so that when it happens, that you don't walk away permanently, that there is a solution that's quickly brought in, and that place ensures that. It used to be that churches served that purpose, and that is visible when you go to churches where after the Mass or during the Mass, there's a certain exposure to a topic. After the Mass, there is a coffee shop, there are certain events, and people congregate, they come together, and the presence of that spiritual container, the presence of that church container protects people from being trashy, from being trivial, from disrespecting each other. And so if you want to love your gayness and enjoy meeting gay men, number one, you have to choose the right men to be around. So you have to think about who are the right men that you want to be around. And then where do they go? Where do they hang out? Where can you actually join so that you are protected from some mistakes, from frustrations, from certain toxicity that sometimes comes through, so that you are enjoying getting to know them, or that you are protected from the mistakes that intercept the process of getting to know them. And so now the final P is the dating process, or the process. This means that being in the right place is not good enough. Being with the right people is not good enough. We actually have to have the step-by-step methodology so that human beings come together and form relationships. And that requires certain attention to detail, because human connection has requirements. For you to actually come together and form a relationship, it has to meet requirements for human connection. This includes safety in the context of you being yourself, not being judged, not being rejected. Also, when you communicate to them, that you communicate in a certain fashion so that nobody is offended, nobody is disrespected, nobody feels like someone is stepping over them. And so that's why the dating process has to be well thought out, has to be created in a way that takes into consideration the mistakes that most of us make when we come across other men, which is usually sexuality that wants to be brought to the surface right up front. We need to quiet down the sexual urges. We need to quiet down our sexual agendas. Otherwise, human connection cannot simply take place. And that's why people just bump against each other. Friendships are impossible. Relationships are impossible because we start out with the wrong first impression. And so when it comes to the dating process, the first impression is so important. It has to be beautiful. It has to be bunkered down so that the mistakes, so that the triviality does not enter the actual process of getting to know one another. And right now, this is actually nowhere to be found. That's why people are unable to create relationships, and that's why it's so difficult to enjoy your gayness, because how can we enjoy it ourselves at home? We want to be around as many people as possible so that we enjoy life, we enjoy them, and we form relationships that last a lifetime. And for a relationship that lasts a lifetime, or for a friendship that has an opportunity to grow like a flower and open up, we need to start it out with a proper and legitimate format. So no rejections, no disrespect, no evaluation on the basis of sexuality. That cannot take place. Otherwise, the human process is not going to work and people are going to not care about each other. So the first impression has to be protected. So now let's talk about how to bring it all together. How can you actually make it all happen this way? And so the Big Gay Family Social Program is the place that makes all of this possible. I don't know of any other places today in the whole world that actually work this way, because the places that used to be open for social interactions, they simply no longer exist. And so in Big Gay Family, we are the only place that I know about where this framework is supported. When you join us, you will come across the right men who are at this moment interested in relationships. These men are not going to be playing games with sex. They're not going to be playing games with you, disrespecting you, ghosting you. They're not going to be treating you in a way that you are probably treated when you meet completely random men outside of a community like Big Gay Family. So inside Big Gay Family, you will only and exclusively be introduced to men who are at this moment open to relationships on an emotional level, through communication, by treating you properly, not walking away from you. And so this is the first P, the right people. Inside Big Gay Family, we have a lot of men who are the right people for you. And you don't have to do the filter anymore. We have conducted that filter on your behalf. The second P, the right place, is also the Big Gay Family Social Program. We have the principles in our program that guide the behaviors for everyone inside the entire community. So it's not like anybody can join and do whatever they want to do, talk in whichever way they want to talk to everybody. No, we have recommendations, we have advice, we have support, so that the kind of conversations, so that the kinds of behaviors that take place inside the Big Gay Family Social Program are the best behaviors that create connections, that create relationships. And we have the principles, we have a lot of meaningful interactions that are now possible so that these interactions are productive, so that you're connecting as opposed to disconnecting and frustrating each other and feeling disappointed. And then the third P is the dating process. We have the commitment-based dating process. You don't have to worry about what to say, when to say it, how often you have to do anything. All of that is prescribed for you, kind of like a recipe. Over the past 10 years, I've put together a dating process that is structure-based. We call it a commitment-based dating process. For the first 3 conversations, you're supposed to do this, that, and the other, and not anything else. And when we make the dating process narrower, guess what happens? Mistakes are avoided, and people actually open up to each other emotionally. They open up to each other spiritually. They open up to each other psychologically. They're actually getting to know each other in ways that create loving relationships. And let me share with you some numbers so that you see that we actually have created something very unique and special. So comparing this with your dating experience is going to be helpful in understanding how successful Big Gay Family is. So if I were to ask you, how many second dates do you have on average over the past 1 or 2 years? How many second dates did you have? Most people would have very few of them. How many sixth dates did you have? And again, for most gay men, that is very rare. But inside Big Gay Family, because we connect the right people with the right place and the right dating process, we have 100% second dates and we have almost 90% sixth dates. So most of the interactions inside Big Gay Family last beyond 3 months. And this is good to know because this is the foundational necessity for any kind of relationship, any kind of friendship that you would want to create in your life. And now, guess what happens? You're enjoying being gay. You're not disappointed. You are not disrespected. You are not abandoned. You are not judged or criticized. And now, for the first time in your life, for most of you, you're going to feel actual love coming through you towards other men, or feeling love, appreciation from them. And not just once, but multiple times, because inside Big Gay Family, you have 24 introductions over the course of 1 year. So imagine 10 new men in the next 4 months entering your life, with whom all of them you're going to have second dates, and with most of them you're going to have 6 dates. Just think about how that's going to change your perspective on gayness, on yourself, and all the gay men around you. It's going to radically change your life because you're going to see for the first time in your life, for most of you, that being gay and being around other gay men is exciting. It can be adventurous. It can be super fun, and it can be safe. It can be productive in the context of forming relationships that don't disappear. They don't go away the way that they go away today when you're meeting random people in random places and in a random reactive fashion, which is what everybody does today. So if you want to enjoy your gayness, if you want to celebrate pride in the most exciting way, we have this opportunity here in the program for you, meeting the right people in the right place that protects you from mistakes, and with a commitment-based dating process so that you are fulfilled, you are happier, you are receiving relationships on a silver platter on a regular basis, and all the frustrations and disappointments of the past are no longer happening, and you have a major change in how you see yourself, how you see being gay, and how you see your future. The hope of authentic relationships has returned to your life. And now, my friend, you can love yourself, you can enjoy being gay, and you can feel optimistic about your future. And that's what I'm inviting everyone to do, to celebrate pride, to celebrate yourself this way. So don't hesitate, don't wait. Join us at the Big Gay Family social program. Visit the website biggayfamily.com and begin this extraordinary adventure that will open you up to happiness, to fulfillment, and love unlike anything you've ever tried in your life. So visit the website biggayfamily.com, and I'll see you in the program. Thank you so much for listening, and I'm going to see you in the next video. Take care.